Alrighty guys, welcome to week 7. We are going to start a whole new project and we're going to be using Node.js to do this. We're going to be creating a chat application that you'll be able to get into and just create messages and people will be able to see them and chat with you and so forth. So it's similar to other programming languages like Python and Ruby where you have to have it installed on your computer for it to work. So you need to go to this website, nodejs.org. All right, and just at this home page, I'm going to get the LTS version. I don't know really what the big deal is, of these different ones, but it says recommended for most users, and I really don't want to mess with, the current one that maybe has features that doesn't work on what we're trying to do. So just get the LTS version, the one that's recommended for most users. You're going to click on that. It's going to prompt you to download it, and it's just a pretty simple install. You really don't have to change anything. You just kind of go it up, get it running, wait forever. You're just going to hit next, accept, next again. Don't change anything. I mean, really, you're not changing anything. You're just going to keep everything the same. Don't just keep it all at the default. Hit next, hit install. I don't know what mine's going to do because I've already done this. And again, maybe it'll just update it. But it's actually, at least when I did it last time, it was pretty quick install. And this, just like Python and other programs and such, has command prompt stuff that we got to do in there. So we're going to make sure we do that. And this should work on Mac or PC. It shouldn't really matter which one you're on. And you're probably going to hear piano playing. If so, just enjoy it. That's all I can say. This might be taking longer because I did already have it installed. It may have removed what I had before and gone. All right, so there we go. So just hit finish. You'll know it installed correctly because you're going to go to your command prompt. All right, and you're just going to type node-v. And that'll tell you the version. If the version comes up, then you know it's installed correctly and it's working the way it should. Let's see. Just back to the website, the thing I'd want you to kind of pay attention to is the documentations. Most of these types of websites for these languages have these documentations. You can click on the version you're using, and then in here it just has all the different stuff it can do. Node's getting pretty huge. It's a huge language. Just really quick and dirty of what Node is. The reason why Node's amazing is because it's based on JavaScript, and everything that we're going to be programming on the client side is JavaScript, and everything we're going to be programming on the back end is JavaScript. So you're going to be using the same language to communicate with databases and all that kind of stuff, and that's why it's becoming so powerful. And so you don't have to have one language messing with all the databases and then another language messing with all the client side stuff. It's just all one language doing the whole thing. All right. So let's get started. Let's start busting some things out here. I'm going to open up brackets, close out of this stuff I don't need. Okay, and I am going to go back to my documents folder, and I'm going to create a folder. Let's see. I think that's the one I'm going to use. Yeah, that's the one I've been messing with. Okay, so I created this folder called Node Chat. That's where I'm going to put in all my stuff. I would recommend doing the same. Just create a folder, just like we did in other projects. Just this is going to be the folder where we're going to play around with everything. Now, the way Node works is it has modules, and these are kind of like the different frameworks that we used in Python. Like Python has the pip installer. This has an npm installer, a Node package manager installer. So we're going to be playing around with that a little bit. So to show you how these modules work, okay, I'm going to create another folder in here. I'm going to call it modules. Okay, because to be honest, we're not going to do a lot of this is not going to be part of the project. This is just kind of FYI stuff so you can learn. Just follow along with me so you can get kind of an idea of how this works. So I'm going to create modules here. I'm going to do a file new in brackets, and I'm going to save that inside of modules. Let's go inside of here. Go node chat inside of modules. Okay, I'm going to call this module.js. All right, so inside of this modules folder, we have module.js. Okay, and in it, I'm going to type exports my text. Okay, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm text inside a module. Okay, and I'm going to create another file. Bring this down here, and I'm going to go file, save as, and I'm going to save it in the same spot inside of modules. I'm going to call this module demo. Okay, and inside of this, I'm going to set up a variable and call it my module. Okay, and I'm going to use this require keyword. This require keyword is basically like an import statement. This goes out there and grabs whatever you tell it to grab, and it imports it into your code. So what I'm going to require or import is I'm going to use /, and you actually have to use this in Node for this to work. The / means the current directory. Where before in like HTML or something, all we'd have to do is just type the file, right, and it would work. But with Node, you got to do this /, that says look in the current directory of what we're in and load module.js. Okay, and all this does is it goes out and it grabs module.js and it embeds it into it. Okay, so now I can come down here a little bit, and we're going to use the console log. This is just going to show us if what we're doing is working. And it's going to go out to my module dot my text, and you can see that it's recognizing it already. Brackets knows that, okay, we required it, we imported it. So now I can go in there and open up my module, which is storing this module.js. So my module stores it in there. So we're going to go inside of my module, right, which is this variable that stores module.js, and then we're going to go further inside and say, hey, load my text, which we know is, hey, I'm text inside a module, and this exports is a Node command that's saying, hey, this is exportable. In other words, this can be used by other pages. Okay, so now let's run this. So just like we've done before, I got to change the directory to documents. Okay, and then I got to change it to, what was it, Node chat. Okay, so now that I'm inside of Node chat, I can run, oh, I have to go into modules now. Got to go onto the directory of where this stuff is. There we go. Okay, now I can run it with Node. So I can say node module demo.js. All right. So using Node, it goes out, it runs module demo.js, and you can see that the console.log gets printed out inside of the text editor here. So again, it sets up a variable called my module. It gets out there, it imports basically module.js, goes over here, it says, okay, this is an export. In other words, I can use this, and it's my text equals, hey, I'm text inside a module. So it saves that inside of my module. Then I log that, my module.myText. So it goes inside of my module, which is the export here, and it runs my text, which is this text here. Okay. So that's all modules are, is they're just a bunch of code that you can write, and then in your main program you can require it and embed all of that code that's been written. And we're going to be messing with a bunch of modules here when we get a little bit further down. All right, so I talked about npm. Okay, that's Node Package Manager. Just like we use pip with, we had pip install whatever for Python, npm is kind of the same thing. It gets out there and it installs these different modules. Okay, so one of the popular packages that are out there is called Lodash. Okay, so we want to install that. So we're going to stay inside this modules directory. We're just going to work in here for a while. And we're going to say npm install Lodash. Okay. It's going to go out there. Just kidding. Oh, that freaked me out, but actually I think we're okay. So it says package.json doesn't exist. We'll talk about what that is later and why that's important. It created it, boom, 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 and then it says added one package. Okay, so we should be good. If we come over here inside of my modules directory, now we have package lock, which we don't really need to worry about right now, and then node modules. If I go in here, then there's Lodash, and then this is all the stuff that Lodash gives us. Okay, all this different functionality. There's a ton of different things it can do. We're not going to go over a whole lot of it, but we're going to kind of show you one of the things that Lodash can do. We're going to create another folder in here inside of modules. I'm just going to copy and paste modules here, and I'm going to rename this to demo.js. Okay, and then I'll open this up in brackets as well. Let's bring that. We got demo here. Actually, I'll just bring it up over here. So we have demo. I'm going to erase this. Okay, to be honest, I think we can just get rid of this module stuff. Okay, so first thing we're going to type is variable underscore. So they set up a variable underscore because that's kind of common practice with Lodash that allows you to access Lodash and its features. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. So I'm going to require, this has to be in quotes, Lodash. Now, Node is smart enough, even though, like demo here, we don't have to say, okay, go into node modules slash Lodash slash, I mean, it doesn't, it's just, Node is smart enough to go, okay, Lodash, it's inside of node modules. So just saying require Lodash, it's smart enough to know to go into node module and then Lodash. So we don't have to put in the path or anything. Okay, and then console.log underscore, okay, that's basically the whole Lodash package or module dot, and then you can see that it recognized it, and there's, I don't know if this is everything. I don't even know if this is any of it really. Let's see. Doesn't look like, not the one we're going to use. So we say underscore dot, so the underscore lets us access the Lodash package, whatever, module, and we're just going to say random. So this is one of the many, 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 many things that Lodash can do. So it has all these like methods and functions that do things where, you know, in JavaScript, random is a little bit more difficult, but Lodash kind of takes these harder things to do and then it just gives you commands so you can do them. So what this does is access the Lodash, and then it says, all right, random, so it's going to give me a random number between 1 and 100. Okay, so we are going to test that. So now that we're in there, we'll just run it. So node demo.js. Okay, 27. I can press up on the key on those little arrows. I pressed on the up arrow. It just put it in what I typed in last. 53, 100. Okay, and it's giving me random numbers. Okay, so we know Lodash is working. Clear that out. Okay, that was CLS, by the way. Not sure what it is on the Mac. So there's demo. Let's install another package. So the way we installed this is inside of modules. Okay, so if I were to create another program inside of NodeChat and I wanted it to use Lodash, it wouldn't be able to, because I only installed that package for everything inside of modules. So all the JavaScript files in here can use it, but anything outside of it can't. And if you remember with Python, or if you've done anything with Ruby, usually when you install gems or you install those different libraries and such in Python, once they're installed, any program can use it. Well, there is a way to do that in Node where you can install a package that can be used globally. All right, and the way you do that is instead of saying install whatever, okay, right here, remember I just did -, and it did it, you can say install -g, and we're going to install another one called nodemon. Okay, and this is actually for node monitor. But if you do that -g here, what that's going to do is say install it globally so any of your node stuff can use this. So if you have packages and libraries and modules and such that you use consistently on different things, you're going to want to install it globally. So I hit that and I hit enter. Okay, now I've already done this, so I actually have no idea what it's going to do. Okay, so it looked like it was rolling back. Okay, so updated one package. So mine was updated. Yours would probably say something like one package was installed or something. Okay, and I don't know. I don't know if it updated, if that's the one the version I installed before. I'm not sure. But that's what we did. We just did the -g to make it global so any of the different things can use it. Okay, so if we come back here and we go into modules, go into the node modules, well, nodemon isn't there because I'm not exactly sure where it put it, but it was probably somewhere in the node installation file or folder. It's probably somewhere in there so everything can use it. Okay, so nodemon, it monitors your files. So as you make changes and you save them, it will automatically run them again and such. So we can do that with this demo here that we did. So I'm going to say node mon in the current directory. I have to use the other slash because we're in the computers directory, not an online directory. And I'm going to say demo.js. All right, so now you can see that it's monitoring demo.js. So when I'm in here in brackets and I'm making changes to it and such, it's going to monitor that and it's going to automatically show what happens. So you see that it ran it once, 51. So now if I come over here and say, you know what, let's do between 1 and 50, and I save it, if I come back here, you can see that it ran it again because it was monitoring it. The minute I saved it, it's like, okay, run it again. So this is good, so you don't have to sit here and go node demo.js, node demo.js, node demo, and just have to run it over and over again. You can have this open, make changes that you need to make. Okay, save it, and then you can come back, and then it'll print out what happened. Okay, now to get out of this, Control-C. I'm not sure what it is on a Mac, sorry. Do I want to terminate this batch? I say yes, and then it gets me back out to where I needed to be. All right, so we talked about, I don't know if it had it up here, we talked about a package JSON file. Up here it gave me an issue saying, hey, there's no package JSON when I installed Lodash. So we're going to talk about what that is. So as I do these projects and I'm installing all these different packages and stuff, we need something that keeps track of all the different packages that have been installed. So if I were to take this project or this app or whatever and I gave it to someone else, well, if they had it on their computer, now they would need to install all of the different things that I had installed. That would be a pain in the butt if they had to do that manually. So there's an actual file that we can create. Clear that. There's a file that we can create that will basically print out all the different packages that your application is dependent on. So it would use that packages file to go out to the web and grab what it needs for the app to work. So I could take my application, put it on another computer. All they'd have to do is kind of run the packages file. It'd go out there and grab everything it needed, and then it would just work. So we need to know how to do that. We need to know how to create these because it's pretty dang important. So to create this, you type npm init. right? And it's going to say, hey, this is going to walk you through creating this package file. This gives you these different things. We can hit Control C at any time to quit. So the package name, I'm not going to type in any of this stuff. We're going to keep it all at the default. So I'm going to hit enter. The version, that's fine. Hit enter. Description, I don't want a description. So I'm just going to hit enter with all of these things. Now, if I had a Git repository for this, I may have wanted to put it there, but I'm good. I don't have any of this stuff. I don't really care. I'm just hitting enter on all these things. Okay, and then it says, okay, basically with all the information that I gave it, this is what this JSON file is going to look like. Okay, and it's like, is this okay? And I just type yes for okay and hit enter, and then boom, it creates it. So now I can come back out here to modules, and you can see that it created that package JSON. And I can come over here and open it up. Let's bring it over here. So it gave me a name, a version, description, everything that it asked me. And then you can see the dependencies is Lodash, because that was one of the things that I installed for this stuff. So it recognized that Lodash was there, and then it gave me the version of it. And then it put out some scripts, and then, yeah. But the main thing is just right here, these dependencies. That's where it goes to take a look at, okay, what do you have installed? What version was it? And then it would be able to update that on other computers. Okay, another thing you can do, like if you don't want to hit enter a bunch of times, you can say npm init -y yes, not y yes, but yes. And what that does is it just skips through all of the enters that I had to do up here. It just says, okay, you're just gonna, it just puts in all the default information for me, and then it does yes and everything. So it's just, instead of have to hit enter a bunch of times, you just type in the npm init --yes, and it does it all for you. It's just a quicker way to get through that. All right, so there's the packages file. Close out of that. Now, a couple things we want to go over with JSON is that you can read, write, and access directories on someone's computer, which is kind of interesting. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to copy and paste again. I'm going to call this one read. And this is going to be a JSON file. So I'm going to put information in here that a node file is going to be able to go in there and read. So open that with brackets. Okay. All right, and inside this JSON file, I'm just going to grab this stuff, erase. We're going to create a JSON file that's always in these curly brackets, and it's just going to be a quick name value pair here. So I'm going to say name, and the name is going to be dude, and that's it. Just a really, really simple JSON file. If you're not sure how JSON works, it creates an object that JavaScript can go in and use. This is the name, and this is the value. And basically, it's kind of these are how a lot of APIs work, application programming interfaces. APIs will have huge, huge JSON files with a bunch of objects and properties and values, and you're able to loop through those and grab information that you need. We're not going to go that far here, but just JSON is just a good way that it just puts data in a readable format where tons of different platforms and programs and websites can use this to be able to share data and do whatever with it. Okay, so now I'm going to create another folder or another file. Copy and paste demo again. And I'm going to call this read.js. And we'll open this with brackets. Get rid of demo. We don't really need that anymore. And we'll erase this. Okay, so inside a node, there's this file system, I guess you could call it package or module, whatever. And it's called FS. And when you require that or when you import it in, you're now able to kind of go through the computer's file system that you're on. All right, so I'm going to create another variable called data, and I'm going to import the JSON file here. So we're in the current directory, and it's read.json. All right, so that's going to import this, and so now I'm going to have access to name and dude. So just to make sure I got it right, I can say console.log data.name. So that should go out there, grab this name, and it should print out dude. It should give me the value of name, whatever name is. Let's go out there and test it. Okay, so there we go. So it gave us dude. Because it went out there, it stored basically all the JSON data inside of data. And then if I say data.name, it goes out there, finds the name, and it gives me the value of name, which is dude. Okay. Oops, so clear the screen. Okay, we're going to keep going here. So I'm going to use this file system module that I imported. And one of the commands is read file. Okay, and the file I'm going to read is the read JSON. Okay, and I'm going to give it the character set of UTF-8. Okay, and I'm going to run a function called, I'm just going to run a function, and I'm going to receive any errors. So glad you're playing that, Ace Gamer. I'm going to receive any errors, and I'm going to pass the data stuff here. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Oops. In between those, put in curly brackets, hit enter a couple times, close that out. So this is what we want the function to do. So I'm going to set up another variable called data inside of this function, and I'm going to parse the data. Okay, and I'm going to log the data name. All right, so let's run this, and then we'll explain what's going on here. All right, so it says dude twice. So you may be like, okay, what the heck? What's the difference here, right? So it's just how this is accessed. So this is pulled in as like a JSON file, or this is basically pulled in as like it's thinking that it's a module, and then it accesses it, and you're good to go. This is accessing it from the hard drive. So this would be used if you had a file on someone's computer that you needed to access. And so this is getting pulled in as a module. This is getting pulled on as a file on their computer. So that's really the big difference here. Now, also this read file, what this does is this actually returns it as a string. So not an object. In other words, I wouldn't be able to access these because it wouldn't be in an object format. It would just, instead, it would give me a string of this, and it wouldn't be considered an object. So anyway, so when I come here and I say, all right, JSON parse data, what it takes is it takes this data, right, and then it parses it, which basically creates it and turns it into this JSON object, so then I'm able to access it. So a couple different ways to be able to do that. All right. So let's move on. I'm going to create another one. And I'm going to call this access.js. Open with brackets, bring it up here. So it's going to be pretty similar. This is going to allow us to access things on the computer. So we got to use that file system module. So fs equals require fs. And that's just, again, a module that's just a JSON module. All right, so fs.read directory is a built-in command with this file system. The directory we're going to be reading is the C drive, which is my computer's hard drive. Okay, now you can see here that, where was it? Right, I can't, let's move this over a little bit. All right, so we gave it what we needed it to read. Okay, we told it what character set, and then we set up this function. Okay, and when we set up the function, we received any errors and we received the data, and then we passed it along to all this stuff. Now, there's another way to do this function, and to be honest, I don't know if I really like it. I kind of like this. It seems to make a little bit more sense to me, but I do want to show you this other way. So instead of saying function era data, what you can do is get rid of function here, and then you do the equal greater than. It's kind of interesting. It's like shorthand. Not sure if I'm a huge fan of it, because to me it's not that much shorter to just say function, right? But you know, it's just another way you can do it. So if you see this, this is the same as setting up the function here. Okay. Anyways, we'll do that just to show you what it does. Okay, so anyways, and then we can say console log data. So again, loads the file system. We use this built-in command called read directory. It's going to go out there and read the whole C drive, and then it's going to log everything that's stored inside of data. Okay, and what it reads here, it passes into data, and then data is then able to be used down here. That's kind of what's happening there. So we can do that. We're going to go node access.js. Okay, and then it goes through my C drive, and these are all the folders inside of my C drive. Okay, so that's just accessing a directory on your on your computer. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be able to use to create a file or write in a file. So we'll copy and paste this. I'm going to call this I guess we'll just call it write. Open it up. Okay, erase all that. So now we're inside of write. It's going to be really similar. We're going to get that file system in there. Okay, and I'm going to set up some JSON data here. Well, actually not JSON data. This is setting up a JavaScript object. It's really similar to JSON, but it's the syntax you'll see is a little bit different. So JSON has the curly brackets as well, but everything's in quotes. The key value pair is in quotes. Here, the key value pair is not. So this is a JavaScript object. So I'm creating up a key called name, and the value will be George. Okay. And then I'm going to use the file system, and there's a command called write file. And what it's going to do is create a file called write.json. Okay, and we need to stringify it. Okay, and if there's any errors, okay, we got basically that shorthand for the function. So it's going to create a file called write.json. Okay, and then it's going to take that data that it pulls from it, or basically it's going to take this data here that we've created here, and it's going to stringify the data. In other words, it's going to make it JSON compatible. It's going to make it kind of like this. You'll see in a minute here. And then if there's any errors, it passes it into this error variable, and then it runs the function, and the function, we're just going to log it out again. And we're going to say write finished. That's what we're going to write to the console. If there are any errors, we will take those in. All right, so if this works, inside of here, we should see write.json. That should appear when we run this. So node write.js. Okay, write finished, good. Null means there was no errors. Then if we come back here, we have write.json. I'm going to open that up. Okay, and then the stringify took the string, because what it did is it took this data, and when it grabbed it as a string, right? It's just text, not an object or anything. Took that data, stringified it. It's kind of a cool name. And what that did is it created it and made it be an actual JSON object like this. See how that's very similar to that. So that's how you create files on your computer with Node. Okay, so next we're going to talk about frameworks. Again, they're like the modules that we're going to be using. We got to install some. So frameworks are they're supporting structures that allow you to build on top of them. So you can get, there's all kinds of frameworks out there. You get login frameworks, you can get website frameworks. I mean, there's just all kinds of different things out there. Bootstrap, we're going to be talking about that as a CSS framework. Clear this out. So there's a bunch of frameworks, which is basically just pre-built stuff that's already been built, so you can then add upon them and customize them and do what you want to do. Okay, and then you have web APIs, which are services that allow you to get and save data to a server or backend. So, you have APIs for like healthcare stuff, like, data on that. You have weather APIs, you have Google Map APIs. It's just a service that someone creates, and they're like, look, I want other people to be able to use this service and use the information that I have. So if you tap into the Google Map API, you can have your own maps with your own markers, your own directions. You can combine that with weather. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So APIs, these open APIs are great. So the APIs that we're going to be using is Express, Sales, and Koa. So Express, I'm just going to read it here, this description I have. It helps with web apps, runs within Node, and it's only on the back end. Okay. And it allows clients to send requests to the server, but doesn't allow the server to send requests to the client. So because of that, we're going to have to use another framework called Socket. Socket.io, like that. And that's going to allow that real-time communication to happen back and forth between the client and the server. Since Express, the client can communicate to the server, but the server can't communicate to the client. The client, by the way, is the browser, in case you're like, what the heck? Okay, so to be honest, I have no idea if we're going to come back to this stuff, but it's good to know a little bit about what Node can do. But I'm going to close out of this stuff for now, because now what we're going to do is actually start in the app. So I'm going to keep all this in here. I'm just going to go out, and now we're in Node chat, and this is where I'm just going to start putting all my stuff. Okay. So I'm going to create a new folder or a new file. I'm just going to copy and paste one of these, just like I've been doing here. And I'm going to call this server.js. Okay, and remember, we're actually starting the app now. So all this other stuff was kind of FYI stuff, talked about packages, how to install them. Now we're going to actually start building the app. And I hope I didn't waste your time with that, because to be honest, the stuff that I have, the things that I'm going through with this, told me to do this. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see if this ends up kicking our butts. Okay. All right, so now that I have this here, we're going to go // or wait, // that way. No, oh, it's cd // There we go. I need to go up a level. I don't want to be in modules anymore. I want to be inside of Node Chat, okay, because this is where we're going to start doing all our stuff. All right, now I'm going to create that package file. Okay, so npm init -- yes. Okay, now you may be like, why the crap are you creating the package JSON file? You haven't installed any packages, right? We don't see any stuff in here that says there's any dependencies. Well, there's a cool little trick I'm going to show you that as we add these packages, we can tell it to add it to the package JSON file as well. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to install Express now. So npm install, and if we say -s Express, the -s tells it to be saved inside of the package. So let's see it. So I'm going to open this with brackets right now. Okay, and we'll run this. So npm install -s Express. Okay, it's going out there. There we go. Now if I come over here and I just clicked on it and automatically updated, it said, oh, dependencies Express. So if we throw that -s in there, it'll automatically throw it inside the package JSON file, and that's exactly what we want. Also, if we come in here, node modules, holy crap, this must be all the Express stuff. That's a lot. Fun stuff. Okay, all right, so that's all we need for now. So let's hop into here. I'm going to open up server.js. Package, yeah, that can just go away. I don't really care. I'm going to not do a split here so we can just see all this. All right, so going to start doing what we got to do. So I'm going to set up a variable called Express, and we got to, import require Express because we just installed that package. So that's installed. That the whole thing, the whole Express package, module, whatever, is now stored inside of Express if we need to call it and do things. I'm going to create a variable called app, and I'm going to save the instance of Express in there. So this is basically inside of this variable app, I'm turning the key, turning on the Express service, and I'm starting it up. I created a new instance of it. And this is going to be how we control the app later. So app.listen, this is an Express command. We're going to tell it to listen on port 3000. Okay, if you've done any Ruby stuff or any Python stuff, they all run on their own ports on localhost. Ports are just a way, like if I went to yahoo.com:2000, I'm going to access yahoo.com on the port 2000. And well, to be honest, it's probably not listening, and there probably isn't anything on that port 2000. So I'm not going to get anything here. So, but like localhost, if we have Python and Ruby and like all these different things on localhost, well, the way you can access different apps on localhost is you just give them different port numbers. So you can see that I had Python on port 5000. Well, we're going to be doing the Node stuff on port 3000. I can't remember the exact numbers, but there are ports that are like port 80 is done for HTTP communication. I think port 21 or so is FTP. So there are ports that are assigned different types of communication. But once you get to a certain number, you can just kind of start making up your own ports, just as long as it's not conflicting with anything else. Okay, so now we can see if this was running. So I'm going to say node server.js. Whoa, what the heck's going on here? Node server.js. And I guess we wait for a couple thousand years here. thought it would say something, maybe not. Let's check. So now we can say localhost 3000. Okay, and we get an error. We get this cannot get slash. It's basically telling us like, hey, there's no, you're not telling me what to do. What am I supposed to open? What am I supposed to run? Okay, and that's why we're getting this weird stuff going on here. So we got to fix that. All right, so we will come in here, and I'll just copy and paste this again, and I'm going to call this index.html, and that's going to be our homepage, obviously enough. Okay, and I'm going to open this up in brackets as well. If you want, yeah, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Open Folder, and I'm going to just open up Node.chat and hit Select Folder. That way we can just kind of, everything that's in here we can just easily get to. All right, so there is our index.html. All right, so now that we're inside the HTML, I'm just going to put some text in here, just because we want to set this Node app to run this file, and we just want to see if I'm running shows up. So now we're going to hop back to server. Okay, and then we're going to take this code and we're going to completely change it. Excuse me. So I'm going to comment that out, and I'm going to say app.use. Okay, and then it's going to use Express, and it's going to load a static page basically, and what it's going to load is the directory. Okay, and what this is doing is it's basically saying, hey, use this whole directory, Node chat. Everything that's in here we're going to use, so that it's all fair game. Okay, and it's all going to be used as a static folder that serves static files like HTML and CSS and all that kind of stuff. Okay, and then we're going to set up another variable called server, and this is where we set up, equals. This is where we tell it where to listen. So listen port 3000. Okay, and then we have the function again, right? We're going to run this function. We don't have any information to pass. And we're going to say console.log. This is going to be just for our information. Server is on port. Server address dot port. Okay, and what this does is if this app were to move somewhere else where the port's different, this server address port would go out there and it would say, okay, what exactly is the port number? And then it would display it. All right, so now that we use this app use directory name, this should get rid of the get error that we were having here. Now it's telling it, hey, use the whole directory, is what we said there. Okay, and then over here, we set up a variable called server, and then we told it to run on port 3000. Then we ran a function when it starts, and it's going to log server is on port, whatever the port is that it's listening on. So again, if this was moved and changed to something different than 3000, it would show it up here. All right, so let's take a look. All right, I did Command C or Control C to run that and to close it out. Now we're going to run that again. Okay. So it kind of tells us server is on port 3000 because that's the one that we've changed it to. If I change this to like 3500, okay, server's port 3500. but we'll keep it on 3000. So now we got the app running. It's running on its own little local server. Oh, wait, no, just kidding. We do need to test that one more time. So it says it's running. We're going to stop it again, run it one more time. Okay, it's on 3000. Now let's go back. We should be able to refresh this. Okay, and it's running. I'm running. So now it's actually running what we told it to here. So we use that directory name, goes to that directory name, finds index. Well, it knows, servers know by default it has to display the index page first, so it displays index and we're good to go. Okay. So now we're going to do like a bunch of non-node stuff. I'm going to use Bootstrap here to just hurry and make the chat interface. This can be anything you want. If you want to take the lazy route and you want to learn a little bit of Bootstrap, that's fine. You can use Bootstrap stuff. I was actually pretty dang impressed how quick you can get things going with Bootstrap. If you want to create your own and make it look the way you want it to, that's totally fine too. It all just kind of depends on what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to just go here to doc type, grab the doc type. Oops, not that one. This is kind of, I know Brackets has some sort of plugin to do this for me. One day I'll figure it out and actually look, but for now I don't really care. And I'll say Node Chat App. Get rid of this. Okay, so now I'm going to head over to getbootstrap.com. Bootstrap's a CSS framework. It allows you to just put up all kinds of common styles very quickly. I haven't used this a whole lot, but I took a look and did some things with it, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty dang cool, and you'll see what we're gonna do here. If I hit download, we don't really want to do that. We're not going to download the files. We're just going to use them from the CDN. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to paste it up here inside the head. Okay, and I need that meta tag too. Give it a character set, UTF-8. And I don't want this tabbed over. It starts to get kind of ugly. Thank you, Bootstrap. Okay, and then we're going to grab all this stuff. So I'm going to grab Popper, jQuery, all the other fun stuff we need for Bootstrap to work. And actually, because it's so dang ugly, I'm going to go to View and not make it word wrap anymore because I'm okay with that stuff going away. So we have the style sheet, and we have these three JavaScript things that we're pulling in. The JavaScript file, the Popper, and jQuery. Because we're going to be using jQuery commands here. All right. Now we're going to use Bootstrap to create the form. Do that inside of the body. And I'll tab this over because I'm crazy like that. Going to do div class equals container. Okay, and this is this is a Bootstrap class that it knows what to do, and this centers things. I don't like if I were to say hi in here. Let's run it. Okay, and because you can already see that it's starting to have styles on it. Okay, I guess it doesn't really center it, but you'll see as we go exactly what this stuff does. You can already see that it has a different font on it, and that's because it's pulling it all from Bootstrap. All right, so we'll get rid of that. Okay, now inside of container, I'm going to throw in another div. We're going to give it a class of Jumbotron. This one just kind of made me laugh. And you'll see what this does here in a minute. Well, it basically creates a big, huge Jumbotron, a big, huge, like, square area on your page. Okay, and inside of Jumbotron, I'm going to throw an H1, and I'm going to call it send message. Okay, and this H1, well, when I save it, let's show you what's going on. Just throwing a hi there. Well, yeah, I guess it was kind of centering it, huh? It just, and you can see that it's just responsive. This is so crazy how this works, and it's pretty awesome. So you can see, the media queries, the breakpoints and such happening. So you can see where it did with hi, I gave it a different font. Okay, send message, it's an H1, so Bootstrap kind of does its own thing to H1s. And then the Jumbotron is this gray area here. And you can see that it centered everything so far. It centered the Jumbotron, but it left justified the text here. All right, so I'm going to just put in some more stuff and we'll see what happens as we go through. All right, now I'm going to give this a class of display4. And again, these are Bootstrap commands. You can see that it just kind of changed up the font, made it a little less bold. Now I can play with these. These are kind of like header tags. So display1 makes it bigger. This actually reminds me of Microsoft. I don't know. This is giving me a Microsoft vibe, Windows 10 vibe. Display6, so it's a little bit smaller. Actually, I don't know if display6 exists. That might be just that it stopped working. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far this goes, but I'm guessing 4 maybe is as small as it gets. Okay, that's all right. Now I want some space up here. Okay, I don't want this to be smack dab right up to the top. So right after container, I'm going to throw a break tag in there. Okay, and that just brought it down a little bit. Okay, then we're still inside the Jumbotron. Throw a break tag in here. I'm going to create the send message input box. So, and I'm going to call this form control. And placeholder, we're going to say name. Again, this is all Bootstrap styles that are being applied. So you can see it, or it by default rounded out the things. Okay, it made it full width. Okay, again, it's responsive, which is pretty slick. Okay, and that's form control. Okay, and then we're going to put in a send button. So input, nope, this is a button. So button, we're going to give it an ID of send. We'll be calling that with the JavaScript later. Then we're going to give it a Bootstrap class. And this is, we could just say button if we wanted to. And the button's going to say send. Okay, like that. But if we want to actually change the color a little bit, Bootstrap has these built-in button things where we can say button success. And that makes it kind of green. So what they mean by success is you could change this green if, whatever you did was successful. Okay. Okay. Now we're outside of the Jumbotron now. And I'm just going to create another ID and give it the ID of messages. This is going to be where we put the messages that are typed in. Just going to basically stick them into the HTML here. And we can't really see that yet. So that's it for the HTML and Bootstrap and all that fun stuff. But it's just kind of cool, man, that framework that allows you to just quickly create these things that are responsive. Kind of slick. Almost makes it too easy, right? So they'll be able to type in their name. Man, did I? Yeah, I think we're good. Sorry, I thought I missed something, but I don't think I did. Okay, so now we're going to start writing the code that's going to handle the messages and such. So like I said, you can use the Bootstrap if you want. You can get in here and do your own. It doesn't matter to me, but just as long as this functions is the main thing I'm paying attention to. Okay, so let's go back to script. Actually, no. I think we're going to stay in here. So in here, we're going to create the JavaScript that's going to mess with this stuff. Obviously, we're not finishing this today, but this is just getting it started. All right, now we have a couple more shorthand crap. Again, this is just, I don't know what I think about this. But this is, again, shorthand. This is basically saying when the page loads, it's going to run this function. So this is shorthand in jQuery. Oh, wait, I got to throw a... This is shorthand in jQuery that's for document.ready. Document.ready is an event that basically says when the page loads, do this. So again, shorthand, it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Okay, so when the document's ready, in other words, when the page loads, we're going to use some jQuery here and select send, the ID of send, right, which is up here, this button. Okay, so when it's clicked, what we're going to do, more shorthand, we're going to run this function. Okay, and the function is going to add message. And what we're going to add is an object right now, for now, just to test it. Okay, so the name is going to be dude, and the message is whatever. I'm going to call it sup. All right. Now, add message is not a built-in command or anything. This is a function that we're calling. So inside of this click function, when we click, it's going to call another function. So you're calling a function within inside of a function. And when it calls it, it's going to give that other function this object with a name value pair. So we have the name is name, the value is dude. Then we have another inside of here, another name, which is message, and then another value, which is sup. All right, so here's the function. It's kind of a function inside of a function inside of a function. This function gets ran when the document's ready. Then it calls this click function here. It calls this other function called add message, and it gives add message this object to work with. So we need to now write that. Sorry, my tabbing's all messed up here. Okay. So we have the function add message. Okay, and it's going to receive this object that's getting passed. It's going to receive it inside of message. Now I can start saying message.name to access dude and message.message to access sup. All right, so there's that function. Okay, so what we're going to have here is another selector. So we're selecting the ID of messages. What's that? It's up here, this div. So we're going to select this div and do some stuff with it. And what we're going to do is use append. And append is basically just adding to it. So adding stuff inside of div, kind of like inner HTML if you've ever done that, like it says here. Insert content specified by the parameter to the end of each element. So we're going to be inserting content. That's really it. That's all you need to know there. Okay. Now this is another interesting one. So usually one way you can do this, and I'm going to show you both ways. You can figure out whatever way you like the most. So one way we could do this is say, okay, this is the more common way. This is the way I've used a lot. But the other way is kind of cool too. So I'm going to say h4 plus message.name plus, remember plus is the concatenation, and then I close out the h4. Okay, and then I'm going to add to that. Well, no, I'm going to keep in here, actually open up a new p tag. Okay, and inside of that p tag, I'm going to put in message.message. Actually, I'm not. Yeah, we might be okay. So message.message plus, and then I'm going to close out that p tag. Yeah, that works. That's good enough, I guess. So if you've done any concatenation before, right? So inside of this div of messages, we're going to append to it or insert into it h4 message.name, right? Which is dude. So this will basically, this will turn into that dude. And then it'll close out the h4, open a p tag, and then it'll put in their message, which is message.message. If you're wondering what the crap is this first message is right here. Remember, it received this object inside a message. So message.message, this message is referring to over here, and that's going to turn into sub. Okay, and then we close out the p tag. Okay, and then we have the closing parentheses there. Yes, I guess I can. I don't know if I'm going to shrink it. I don't know. I guess that looks okay. So that's one way of doing it. And we can see if this works. Okay, and the way we can test this is by clicking the button, right? So when we click the send button, it should run add message, give that object to add message. So add message runs, receive the object inside a message, and then it appends to messages, which is this ID here, all this stuff. So let's see if it works. Okay, it's still running, so we should be okay. I'm going to refresh here, and I'm going to say, dude. It doesn't really matter what I type in here right now. So actually, just not to confuse you, I can do that and hit send. Okay, and then it went out there and appended it, dude, sub. So that's what we want. Now there is another way to do it, and this is kind of an interesting way. So I'm going to comment this out. This is definitely good to know, this other way of doing it. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select messages, which is that div. We're going to append to it. Okay, what's different though is how we write this append part. So you can do these tick marks. It's usually on your keyboard right next to, you got the number row kind of at the top of the keyboard where you have all the numbers. They're right under the F keys, like the F1 and F2. If you go all the way to the left of that row, it's the key right next to 1. And these are they're called tick marks. And you can use these in kind of a quote type way. So what I can do is I got these tick marks, and now I can say H4, and I don't have to worry about all the concatenation stuff. I don't have to worry about all these plus signs. So now I can say H4, and then I can just say, all right, I want to throw in message.name. And the way you do variables inside of here is with the $, and then with these curly brackets. So I can say message.name. And then I can close out of the H4. Of course, brackets is going to do some weird stuff. Okay, and then I open up the p tag. Then inside the p tag, I do the $, with the curly brackets, message. Okay, and then I close out of the p tag. And that's it. So the main difference here is if you use these tick tags, now you don't have to worry about all the pluses and making sure you have the pluses in the right spot. It's just type out whatever you want, and then whenever you put inside of a variable, you just use the curly brackets and the $. Okay, so let's save that. Let's see if that works. It should work the same. And it does. So 2 different ways to do it. To be honest, this probably is the easiest way if you get used to it. It just takes a couple seconds to kind of get this new format here with the $sign and the curly brackets. But now, like I said, you don't have to worry about all these pluses because this really can get hard to read. And then it's just tough to go, okay, what's in the quotes and what needs to be in the quotes? Here it doesn't matter. All of this is in the quotes. You just don't have to worry about all the concatenation plus signs here. The hardest part here is just knowing how to put in the variable, which is the $sign curly brackets. So it's not too bad. All right, so that's it for now, guys. That's it for today. All of this should work. Well, crap, I don't think I told you guys to turn this in, right? No, you don't need to turn this in. If you were to upload this, you'd get some issues because we have, server.js and stuff. I don't think this would work on inner server. But right now, we don't have this really doing anything. All this is doing is setting up a server so we can use it locally. So if you were to upload this, this would work just fine if you uploaded the index. We don't need to worry about that yet. Just for now, what you want to do is just get your server stuff written. Okay. And then just get your form set up. Your form to where you type in the message. And I need to check one more thing before I end this video. I'll be back in a few seconds here. Nah, we're good. This is as far as you need to be. So just make sure you get this working. So when you hit send, it just appends to that div. Okay, and then in the upcoming weeks, we're going to use, I think, a hosted database. So we're not going to use a local database or PostgreSQL or anything. It's going to be an actual website that'll host your database. It's a bunch of cool stuff. So get this far this week, and then next week we'll start with the new stuff. So good luck, guys. Here's the code again if you want to pause it or whatever. But yeah, we'll talk to you next week. See ya.